Good morning, everyone. My name is David Targett. I was a former graduate assistant in the Office of Gift Planning now, and I have with us today Mr. Joseph Lang and Mr. Stephen Conroy. How are you guys doing today?
Great. Thanks
We're
for having
good.
us, David.
Awesome, awesome. So this is a special call for me because I got two fellow St. John's student athlete alumni on the call. You guys were both track teammates, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, we weren't teammates. Steve was a little after me, right?
Oh, okay, but you guys both
When
ran
did,
track.
when did you graduate, Steve?
Joe, you were 63, I was 66.
Oh, okay. So you were a freshman.
Yes,
Wow.
that's correct.
Yep. Okay.
Joe just never saw Steve because Joe was always ahead of him on the track, right? The upperclassmen were always
He
around
was.
the freshmen.
Indubitably.
There were freshman teams back then.
Yeah. So you guys both went to St. So you, Mr. Lang, you graduated in 63?
That's right. Please call
And
me.
Joe, sorry, it's habit. Um, so how would you guys, like, how was your guys' student athlete experience? I mean, you guys were teammates, and like, how was the St. John's track team back then?
It was very good. It was truly a track team. We had track and field athletes.
Mhm.
For us, the big championship was the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, track and field, particularly indoors, was huge in the United States. It really was a big deal. And my coach was Coach Bill Ward, and he stopped coaching after my junior year, and Coach Bartol came in, and I ran for him for 1 year and ultimately worked with him at St. John's. And so, Steve, you didn't have any direct contact with Coach Ward, but he was really a great guy, and he had a lot of field event athletes, and we were competitive with Manhattan. But it wasn't until Steve's group got going that we started to actually beat Manhattan, and we had some great competitions with them through the years.
I first met Bill Ward. He came to my high school in Queens, St. Pascal's, and gave a talk at an assembly. And my high school didn't have a track team. I was a basketball player. So I come to St. John's and I could always run. My parents from Ireland. And I saw on the track that Manhattan came down and in big white paint painted Jaspers across the track. So I got involved. I was playing intramural basketball, and Jimmy O'Reilly, who was a freshman at track, told me I used to run around the campus to stay in shape, and he convinced me to run the campus Olympics. And I ran a 5-minute mile, and I walked onto the team, and I suffered for. I ran a 5-minute mile. I won the campus Olympics, and I walked onto the team. I suffered for 3 years, and I thought running was easy. Rude awakening. But I ended up being the fifth man on our Metropolitan Cross Country Championship team. So it was a good story at the end of the rainbow. And Joe didn't mention it, but he was the Metropolitan Intercollegiate uh, champion when he was a senior, right, Joe?
Yeah, I was. I was Steve's first champion. That was amazing because it was his first year.
Wow.
It's interesting, Steve. Your experience, what you just talked about, was something that was really part of how track did what it did. There were lots of walk-ons
Yeah.
through the years, and we ultimately grew the team when I was there as an assistant coach to almost 100 athletes on the team. And if you wanted to run or you wanted to jump or whatever, we took you. And it was amazing how people like Steve would come and end up being very good runners and contribute and score and make a difference. It really
Yeah.
was a great thing for us.
Yeah, and I
Well,
mean, I have like a similar experience with that with the soccer team because I was a walk-on the soccer team as well, and I guess you could say in Steve's words as well, it was like a living hell for 3 years, a lot of
yeah.
training and working hard. But it was like the best experience ever, and getting to be a walk-on and contribute in any way that I can. It was a really good experience, and I'm glad that I was able to have that as a walk-on.
Yeah,
And
I think that. Go ahead, Steve. You were going to
I
say.
was just going to say, Uh, the track guys are fantastic. There's something about suffering together creates bonds.
Hmm.
Everyone seemed to check their ego at the door, and they're very supportive. And it's the type of sport where your dirty laundry hangs out every time you perform. So everyone realized, hey, you can have a good day and a bad day, just like golf. And that's probably what helped a lot of the walk-ons because they got constant positive encouragement and feedback, and Bartol and guys like Joe Lang around to help. It was just fantastic, you know.
Yeah, it really was and that to me, that's one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about with the way athletics in today's world behaves, because those kinds of opportunities are not as prevalent as they once were. Cost of education has gotten a lot higher. A lot of kids have to work to help their family pay for education. And so the number of walk-ons is reduced.
Hmm.
But the fact of the matter is the experiences that we had, all of us, including yourself, David, by being part of a team and doing all the things that you learn from athletics, including budgeting your time and all the things that you have to do, are wonderful opportunities. And at the same time, you're building lifelong bonds with people.
Hmm.
And I think that's it's unfortunate that not as many students have that opportunity today.
Yeah. And for me, that's the beauty of college athletics. And that kind of segues into what I wanted to talk about next. And Joe, I saw that you were the athletic director for Georgetown for a few years, correct?
Yeah, I was. I was the AD from '95 to 2004. I actually was at Georgetown from '72 after I left St. John's until 2004, and was a track coach, and I did a whole lot of other jobs
Mhm.
on my way to becoming the AD. Yeah.
And then, so would you say like the student athlete experience that you had at St. John's would played like a huge role in maybe you wanting to become like athletic director at some point and be able to provide that student athlete experience to the next generation of kids coming through college?
Yeah, I did. I really, and we did have a very large number of student athletes at Georgetown, and to this day, they have a very broad-based program. The I always felt that whatever coaches could do to add some people to their teams was I would encourage it, because again, the experience that I had was so powerful, and we actually, when I was coaching, I did the same thing that St. John's did. If a kid wanted to be on the team, hey, come on down, you're on, and it didn't make any difference if we had a kid who was trying to break 2 minutes or somebody who already had run 4 minutes. It didn't make any difference. They were part of the same team, and we treated them all the same way.
Exactly, exactly. And are you still involved in college athletics today?
Yeah, I am. After I retired, a woman who was my senior associate AD, she became the athletic director at the University of the District of Columbia, which is an historical black college.
Hmm.
It's a land grant institution, and it is. She asked me if I would come and help her out, and told me it was something that I could do a little bit, work from home and stuff like that. And so I did it, and it's now I've been there for 11 years.
Yeah.
But it's been great because I'm still dealing with young guys like you,
Right.
which is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Awesome. And Steve, are you still involved with the sport at all? I know they don't have
Yes.
a men's team here anymore.
Yeah, I work. I'm like a liaison between Jimmy Hurt, the head coach, and the
Mm.
coaching staff, and now Alain Pompey, and development. So I get involved in helping raising funds for the girls team.
Mhm. And
So, for example, we have that all sports golf out, and so we're beating people over the head to, get involved in that. And every year around the Tom Farrell meet, we do a major campaign, and we ask people for support for the team.
awesome. And do you think like doing these events it has helped the women's track team here over the years with I don't know, maybe bringing them more recruits or just the morale as a whole around the track community?
Yeah, because it's not just fundraising. We do things like mentoring, and every year we have a career night. So what we do is we bring in alumni, and we set up 6 or 7 tables in a large conference room, and it's like speed dating. They sit down, they talk to somebody about networking at one table. Then they get up from that table and go to another table. They talk about writing a resume. Then they get done with that and they go to another table and they learn about interviewing skills. Uh, and then we get a couple of alumni to get up and talk, success stories. So we're kind of preparing them and for what takes place after they graduate. And then we have a wrap up dinner for them around March in the city at a restaurant for graduating seniors. So
Awesome.
it's not just raising money, it's also, kind of getting them ready for what happens after they graduate.
And yeah, that's was another great thing about my student athlete experience here, and I'm sure it was probably along the lines of yours as well. But St. John's, the athletic department here, did a great job of preparing the student athletes for all that the world's going to throw at them when we graduate from here. And whether it was going to like networking events with previous student athletes, or giving us an etiquette dinner and teaching us how to have like a proper 5-course meal with, you work from the outside in, you got your drinks on the right, bread on the left. Did you guys get to do stuff like that with the athletic? Did they give you guys preparation, or is that all now?
No, I'm laughing about that. No, we did not. I would say this, that when I got to St. John's in '59, there was no gym. There were 2 buildings on the campus. The athletics department was housed in what had been the golf clubhouse, because Hillcrest Golf Course is the location of the campus today. And so the coaches, there were not a lot of coaches. Most of them were part-time. But Lou Carnesecca was there, Jack Kaiser was there, Bill Ward was there, Walter McLaughlin. I mean, it's a pantheon of wonderful people that were, but what they all were they were committed. They were committed to the students, and that was prevalent throughout the campus. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was really, we were not much bigger on the campus than many high schools. But the feeling of caring all around the campus was there. And so there was not this same, it wasn't as formal. However, because they were always there, you were getting information all the time. You were being taught. And so Bill Ward, he's the guy that said, go talk to this person. That's how I got my first job. And it turns out he knew the brother from the high school, because when he was coaching high school, that brother was his moderator. And so they were all, and Lou Carnesecca used to say that all the time. If you come to St. John's, you're going to become part of a family. And I think that tradition is really what made St. John's very unique.
Absolutely.
Yeah, by the time I was a senior, they had our college placement office. So if you were looking into education or business, there was places where you could go. They give you some information about interviewing. They help you set up interviews. Companies used to come on campus and have like recruiting days. They set up tables, and it was like a job fair. I didn't have to worry about that because I got a job with Uncle Sam right away. I ended up in the Army for 3 years.
That was very prevalent for people on the track team. We had lots of guys who were in part of the Marine Corps, and they would go a couple of summers down to Quantico, and then they would become second lieutenants on graduation. A lot.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like track and field is
Army.
No, go ahead.
I ended up in the Army, and I went to officer school, and then I ended up as a platoon leader in Vietnam from 1968, 1969. And thank God I learned how to run, because I could hump the mountains and run away from the NVA.
Track prepared you for it all. So what did you end up getting to do after you were in Vietnam? Did you stay in the
I
military?
came home and no, I'm a bit of an independent type of guy, and for me in the military, I don't play good in the sandbox with a lot of rules and regulations. I'm kind of a free spirit, but yeah, I knew it wasn't for me, but I had to go in. I had to serve. I actually enlisted. So anyway, I came back and I had a job offer to go sell textiles for JP Stevens. And I told the guy who offered me the job, I said, I really want to be a teacher. And he says, well, do you have a teaching job? I said, no. He says, and you're going to turn this down? I said, yeah. So that's what I did. I turned down a job in JP Stevens, and I started substitute teaching in the day out in Long Island and working on a master's in secondary ed at Hofstra at night. And then a year later, I got a job at Maria Regina High School in Uniondale, which is now Kellenberg. And I taught there for 2 years. And then there was a plethora of teachers in the early 70s. So I couldn't get a job in the public schools. History teachers were dime a dozen. So I turned a page. I looked at the business thing again. I worked for 3M Company for 2 years. And I worked for Xerox for 30 years. And that's pretty much it. Now I do mortgages on like a referral basis just to keep busy. That's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. So I wanted to bring it back to the track for a second. Do you guys do you find yourself staying in touch with many of your teammates from when you were on the track team at St. John's?
I do. Yeah. We had a guy when I was a junior who was a great captain, Tommy Selendine, and Tommy is sending notes to us all the time. I'm down here. I mean, I'm so far. It's really amazing being in Washington D.C. compared to being in the metropolitan area. It's more difficult to stay connected because they get together for dinners and stuff like that, and it just talk track. But Tommy is always sending us notes. Dick Colaswano and Joe Carpenter and guys like that. So yeah, we've got we're in contact. Yep.
Yeah.
We have a Martin Nutty who also works on development, and he's head of the Spike Shoe Club. He set up a homepage for us on Facebook. So there's a constant chatter and dialogue going back with like 17 guys from my group, guys from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, Glenn Shane, Joe Carpenter. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we got together up at a restaurant up by the Columbia Presbyterian up in Manhattan, Dallas. It was a barbecue place. We used to always go to Coogan's, but Coogan's shut down. So now this is our new family barbecue place. We had to get together last week. We welcomed in Alion Pompey, the new coach. Jim Hurt was there. Jimmy Sullivan, right, Joe?
Yeah, Jimmy Sullivan is another one of those guys who is constantly trying to make those things.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love to hear that because I feel like many of the friends that I made during my 4 years on the soccer team, I feel like I'm going to be seeing them at my wedding, and I'm going to be friends with them for life, or at least that's how it feels now. I guess it's a lot harder in a couple of years when everything gets so separated, but for sure, I feel like I've, just as you guys said with your track teammates, built a lifelong bond that I'm going to try as hard as I can to keep with the guys that I've met over my 4 years.
I think, one of the things, did you live on campus?
I lived on campus for my first year and then lived off campus for the other 4.
Yeah, because we didn't have any dormitories or anything like that. So at the end of the day, we would get in our cars or take the buses and trains and go home.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of a relationship that we had.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happened is I think we've grown back together through the years.
Right.
Because of the experiences that we had, and appreciate it as we look back that, St. John's really was good to us, gave us an opportunity to have the experience of being involved in athletics and at the same time get your education. And for that, we're all very thankful.
Perfect. And
they have school back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, I thought that was a perfect ending. I just wanted to thank you guys again for doing this today. I love getting to talk to the alumni, especially from when they were student athletes. You know, it really shows that, like you guys were saying, it is a family. And I think all student athletes now and previous ones can attest to that. So thank you guys again for joining today.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you
Dave.
for setting this up.
Good to see you, Steve.
Joe,